Hi, I'm Dennis Day. Welcome to Fast Trucking.
Here at Fast Trucking, our corporate health and safety policy is posted upstairs in the offices, they're in the coffee room, they're in the shacks, they're basically everywhere. And all they say is at the end of the day, we just want to make sure you get home safe and sound. It's just a job, you don't want to kill yourself. The Petroleum Industry Guiding Principles, that's this red one up here on the wall, basically it says we want to make sure that everybody gets home safe and sound. Not just our own guys, but everybody. So if you see somebody that doesn't work for us doing something they shouldn't be doing, you gotta do something about it. Our drug and alcohol policy is whatever you do in your own time is your own business. But when you're at work, you gotta be clean and sober and fit for work. Discipline policy. If you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, you first get a verbal warning, then a written warning, and then it'll escalate, depending on what it is you've done. All the way from a very severe verbal warning up to you might be told to go home, or you might even lose your safety bonus. Media relation and next of kin notification. If something bad happens, don't go phoning the newspapers, don't go phoning the guys' wives. We got guys that are trained for that. Environmental protection policy. Report any spills and try to avoid them. If you're not sure where chemicals go when you dispose of them, ask. If you're spreading mud, make sure you're on the right spread field. If you're not sure, ask. Violence and harassment. We have a violence and harassment policy where basically you don't have to put up with any violence and harassment, and we expect you don't give it out. Emergency procedures. If there's a fire here in our shop, we have an air horn, like what you'd hear at a football game or at a hockey game. And if you hear that, stop whatever it is you're doing and exit the shop the closest place that isn't on fire and go to our big windmill, which is where our muster point is. Site-specific emergency response plan. If there's an emergency out on a location, go to the muster point, which will be at the entry or the exit to the lease. Fire extinguishers. We have lots and lots of fire extinguishers out here. We keep one in all of the trucks, usually right underneath the driver's seat. We keep fire extinguishers beside all the exits to the shop. The main beams of the shop have them. They're in the dog houses, they're in the shacks. There's lots of them around. When you need to use a fire extinguisher, you pull the pin, point it at the base of the fire, and put it out in a sweeping motion.
Go. Fire! Fire! Oh.
And remember, the goal of a fire extinguisher is not to put out the fire. It's to get yourself out of the way of the fire. We have insurance and everything out here. We can replace things, we can't replace people. Smoke detectors. We test them every time we move our shacks. If you're driving and you're in a severe thunderstorm or a severe blizzard and you can't see the road and you're slip sliding around, pull over and stop. We'd rather you get there safe and sound and a little bit late than not at all. In the event of a tornado, go to the parts room or the main office in our shop. If you're out on location, go to the mud tank or the substructure. Emergency phone number locations. We keep a list of all the phone numbers beside the phones out here in our shop. But really, there's only 2 numbers you need to remember. 911 if it's a big emergency, and if you're not sure, phone back here to the shop, 306-482-3244. Responsibilities in an emergency. Your first responsibility is to yourself. After that, talk to your supervisor, do what they tell you to do, and go from there. First aid kits. We have lots of first aid kits here at Fast Trucking. All the trucks have them underneath the passenger seat, and there's two main first aid kits here in our shop. One's at the bottom of the stairs, and one's at the far end in the cat bay. First aid kit logbooks. If you ever need to use a first aid kit, we have logbooks, so you write down what you used and why. Here in Carnduff, the closest hospital is in Oxbow. And if you ever do need to go to the hospital, we will send someone with you, like an ambulance. Personal protective equipment. Here in the Fast Trucking shop, anytime you go past the little yellow line outside the main offices, you need to be wearing steel-toe boots and safety glasses. When you're out on location, you need to wear all of your safety gear: hard hat, coveralls, safety glasses, and boots. Maintenance of personal protective equipment. When it comes to maintenance, when you wash your coveralls, wash them using normal detergent. Don't use fabric softener or bounce sheets, because instead of being fire retardant, they'll become fire enhancing. When you clean your safety glasses, use your shirt or a cloth. If you use paper towel, that will scratch them all up. Maintenance of hard hats. Don't put bug spray on a helmet, that'll cause it to melt. Accidents and near misses. We treat a near miss the same as an accident. And what a near miss is something that was almost an accident, or something that had a high likelihood of causing someone or something to get hurt. And if we ever have a near miss or an accident, you gotta tell your supervisor immediately. The Saskatchewan Occupational Health and Safety Act and Regulations is the book that we refer to whenever we're doing any work out here in the oil patch. We keep copies of the Saskatchewan Occupational Health and Safety Act and Regulations in all of the offices, in the rig pushes pickup trucks, and in the shacks. Workers' rights. Here's probably the most important part of my speech. Here in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta, we have three fundamental worker rights: the right to know, the right to participate, and the right to refuse. And I don't want to say one is more important than the others, but the most important one is the right to refuse. That means you have the right to refuse work that isn't safe. We don't usually ask people to do stuff that isn't safe, but we're human. We make mistakes. It's your responsibility. You know what it is you're doing and how to do it safely so you don't get hurt. Say there's a tank full of H2S gas, or a trench that isn't properly sloped, and someone asks you to go in there and grab something real quick. Well, don't do it. That work won't get done until either it can be done safely or not at all. The right to know means you have the right to know who's on the safety committee, what's going on with a refusal to work, when our safety meetings are, and how to do your job safely. The right to participate means you have the right to participate in our health and safety program, to go to our safety meetings, and to bring up any health or safety concerns. Occupational Health and Safety Committee. We have an Occupational Health and Safety Committee, and for Fast Trucking, they meet once a month, and for all the other companies, they meet quarterly. We keep a list of everybody that's on the committee and their phone numbers in the coffee room and in other various locations. Chemicals. You'll probably encounter an awful lot of chemicals out here at Fast Trucking. To see a list of all of them, please refer to the Material Safety Data Sheet book. The MSDS book is located at the bottom of the stairs right by the first aid kit. Out on location, the MSDS book is located in the doghouse. In the MSDS book, it has a list of all the chemicals we have out here and their properties. Chemical properties can also be found on the product's labels. If you're ever moving one chemical from one container into another, make sure you properly label it. Safe work procedures. Our safe work procedures are in our safety manuals. Hazard assessments. We identify and assess all hazards based on their health or safety. We rank them on their severity, on their probability, and on what kind of controls we have for them. When we deal with hazards, there are three primary types of controls: administrative controls, engineering controls, and personal protective equipment controls. Responsibilities. You are responsible to work safely. If you don't know how to do something, ask. You are responsible to follow safe work procedures. You are responsible to report any hazards, incidents, or accidents. We have a hazard ID program out here, and if you see something we should be made aware of, fill out a hazard ID and hand it in to us. Report any injuries immediately to your supervisor. Safely use hand tools and equipment. Make sure your tools are properly grounded. Maintenance. Make sure a qualified person does the maintenance. Use the correct tool or equipment for the job. Tag and lock out equipment needing repair. The tags are located right by the bathrooms. If you see a tag or lock on a piece of equipment, don't use it. Use required personal protective equipment. Attend all safety meetings. Know and comply with provincial legislation. Housekeeping. It's important. Clean up after yourself if you've left a mess. Return any tools you've borrowed. Hang up any hoses after you've used them. If you've spilt any oil or grease, use Absorb-All to clean it up. Documentation. If you are employed as a truck driver, you are required to fill out logbooks. All work done on our equipment must have the work order and inspection forms filled out. Inspection forms and work order forms. Whenever we're doing any work on our equipment, you have to do the paperwork. Pre-job safety meetings. We have a quick tailgate meeting at the start of every shift. Hours. Fill out your timesheets daily and hand them in as required.